War Eagle Auburn family, welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we sit down, we get together, and we talk about what's going on in the world of the Auburn family spectrum. Always heavy on the sports here, but if it's orange and blue, it is what we do. Thank you for joining us, whether you're watching live or on the replay. We appreciate you spending your time with us. On this live stream, very late night live stream has been the case a lot of the time during basketball season. We're doing a post-game reaction show talking about the Auburn Tigers' overtime victory over the Mississippi State Bulldogs on the road by the score of 81-68. I'm going to share my thoughts, but more importantly, we're going to hear from you, your comments, your questions, your reactions, and I'm sure there's going to be quite a few of them from this game. That is what is in store for this live stream on a very late Wednesday night. Before we do all that, though, a couple of things. If you can, please do make sure you smash that like button if you do enjoy this type of content. You can even do that on social media if you're watching there, Twitter and Facebook. And right now in the chat, post where you're watching from, city, state, international, all of that good stuff, so that we know who's here, where you're watching from, and who is alive and awake right now on this late night live stream. Whoo! How's everybody feeling? I need a minute. I say this phrase a lot, but I've sung this song, Dance This Dance, before. I had a very pit in my stomach type of feeling that we were about to experience some frustrations that I know that we're all very tired of feeling. But luckily, the Tigers go on the road and get the victory over the Mississippi State Bulldogs, which have been a very formidable team, especially in Stark Vegas, in the Hump, as they call it. Humphrey Coliseum, I think, is the official name for it, but the Hump. Very challenging team to play on the road for most teams, but especially Auburn, when people are literally licking their lips every time they get you on their home court. They want to shove it back in your face that you're not the best team in the SEC. We're going to show you that you're not. Thankfully, tonight, Bulldogs were not able to pull that off. A lot of different ways to talk about this show tonight, this game tonight, in terms of stats, thought process. I know there's probably a lot of opinions about what we should or should not have done. We're going to talk through a few of those, but I think right now we all just need to be thankful that we got out of there with a win and are now officially SEC champions, regular season champs. Technically, we are co-champs, but there's one more game to be played to determine the finality of what level of champs we are. But we are officially SEC regular season champs, at least shared for the rest of the season. Got a lot of people checking in. Good to see a lot of our regular people here. SpongeBob, sweet victory. Well done, Yahari. Good to see a lot of our regulars here already checking in. Kudos to KD. Mike says, I agree. I shared the tweet out right as the overtime was getting going and KD Johnson took over. It's the Thanos tweet with him putting the gauntlet on, for those of you that are Marvel fans, and saying, fine, I'll do it myself. A lot of people, we did our usual Wednesday night live stream, even said that they were ready to see KD do something like this that we've gotten accustomed to him doing. And you got your wish tonight. KD Johnson has an outstanding overtime when it was a rather pedestrian regular time play for him tonight. He finishes with 14 points, and I would imagine probably like 8 of those were in overtime. So a great performance by him, a clutch performance by him to really pull the Tigers over some struggles that they seem to continue to be having on the road, and I'm not sure why. It can be frustrating. A lot of people are going to point to guard play, and that's probably somewhat true. A lot of people are going to point to coaching decisions, calling timeouts and stuff like that. There may be some truth to that as well. But I got a couple of counters for that as well. So right now, what are your reactions? What are your feelings? I know the reaction right now is relief, thankfulness. You saw that Coach Pearl and Coach Pearl, his son, had a little embrace there at the end, kind of celebrating what they've done. You got to think that Coach Pearl, too, is feeling a little bit relieved after the validation in terms of monetarily the university and the athletic department has put in him by giving him that type of contract extension. This kind of puts a feather in his cap and saying, see, I was worth all of that. Now, granted, when they signed that deal or inked that deal, it looked like we were going to win it anyway, regardless. So, but it is something just to keep in mind there. Let's see here. Yahari says rebounding needs to improve immensely or it's curtains in the upcoming tournaments. Can't lie, I am concerned. I would agree with you that the rebounding trend is very concerning. There's a lot of commentators and people pointing to the fact that the guards need to support more in that area. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to pull up the stats here. Let's look at guards wise, who was leading rebounds. We had 2 from KD Johnson, 3 from Zep Jasper, 1 from Flanagan, 2 from Green. And of course, Kessler and Jabari Smith led the way, and everybody else had 1. So everybody contributed tonight. I don't want to sit here and say that luck plays a lot into this game, but it does feel like there's a lot of bounces the last 2 games, especially that have not been going our way, which sometimes that's just how it is. But sometimes it's about positioning and putting yourself in a better position to get the rebound. It does feel like we're sucking in more into the lane and causing them to get much easier offensive rebounds. Tonight, rebounds, we lose mightily, 50-32. So just think about it this way. If that's even, let's say that Auburn got 8 more of those and they got 8 less, that's 40-42. This is a much different ball game we're talking about. No heartaches, or no heartburn and heart attacks. Probably much more tame end of the game. Turnovers, Big Simp says. That's what sticks out to him. Mississippi State actually lost that battle tonight, 20-14. We can give up a few less. I think probably in the last 2 games, though, the rebound is really what's been the issue more than anything. As when you kind of compare the 2 right there. Quentin says, worried about the big tournament. No lie, I don't want this team to go home. Well, they will have to go home at some point, Quentin. Hopefully it's at the end of a championship run or at least a Final Four run, but they will go home at some point. I think I said this on our Wednesday night show right before the game started, our normal Wednesday night show at 8 p.m. Eastern time. I'm expecting an SEC tournament loss. And I think that is just kind of how I'm preparing myself because of how competitive the SEC play has been. You saw this tonight. Mississippi State is middle of the pack. But an upper middle of the pack team. That's not a knock on them whatsoever. That's how strong the SEC has been, especially down the stretch here. Auburn, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas. You can throw Alabama, Mississippi State, Florida into the mixes there as well. Texas A&M at times just seemed like they were going to do some things. They did something tonight against LSU. I forgot about them as well. Very, very strong teams in the SEC overall. Guard play, we go small, it kills us in rebounds. It seems to be that way. Although I would much rather Coach Pearl keep those guys out there together because there's going to be times in the tournament where that's going to be necessary and they need to figure it out now. So there's a lot of people. Let me talk about the frustrations about coaching, play calling, especially when it came to that last play. A lot of people wanted Coach Pearl to call a timeout, call a set play, and go. That is the normal thing to do, and that's the obvious thing to do. But what happens when you get into a crunch time game and you're in a situation where you can't call a timeout and you need them just to make a good decision? Track record so far hasn't been pretty good on that, but how are they going to ever do that in a situation where they can't stop the clock, catch their breath for a second, and get a plan? They need to make something happen. You're only going to learn that on the fly. So I'm not saying that's what Coach Pearl's plan is there, but I could see some value in doing that. But I understand the frustration as well. Dusty says State was 14-2 at home before tonight. Some people don't understand how hard it is to win on the road. I think most people understand that. But a lot of people are coming from the place of, I don't want to call them casual basketball fans, but they're coming from a place of getting right in the way, getting more involved and not understanding what happens on the road in basketball a lot of times, especially when the league is this good. Rodney, and you phrased it very nicely, and I know a lot of people are going to kind of take it this way. Why does Flanagan play so many minutes every game? Because he earns them in practice, and Coach Pearl sees the value in putting him out there. It's the same reason that Devin Cambridge is being given opportunities, not because of luck, but by his teammates. Jabari Smith passes up the three, wide open three, gives it to Devin Cambridge in the corner, who knocks it down because they know that they can do it. And you're never going to get that knocked down if you don't keep trying in the regular season. Now's the time to be making mistakes, not in the postseason. So I get the frustration. Allen is not having a great year, but I also didn't expect him to have a great year. He was coming off a major injury, and it was going to take him some time to get that figured out, but also figure out where he fits in. Listen, he left a team that relied on him to a team that doesn't. It's not that they don't need him, but they've got Jabari Smith, KD Johnson, Walker Kessler, who are now stars, and it's like, where do I fit into all this? So you can imagine how that kind of plays into all of that aspect there. Offensive rebounding is frustrating. Yes, I agree with that. I don't think we broke it down on the rebounds. Offensively, 7 for Auburn, 21 for Mississippi State. We talk a lot about on these live streams the 3 areas that, holding up 4 fingers, 3 areas: turnovers, rebounds in general, and free throws. Free throws tonight, Auburn far out exceeds Mississippi State, 71 to 64%. Nobody had a super hot night at the free throw line. Most people say 71's great. I say no. Turnovers, Auburn wins that category. And rebounds, they get smoked. But because you were able to win significantly enough in the other areas, we get the win. Great question, Sullivan. A lot of people are asking this. Something wrong with Kessler's shoulder. I personally am not privy to anything. He wouldn't be wearing that if something wasn't off. I would imagine this is probably the normal wear and tear of the season and trying to make sure they keep it healthy as possible if it is something that bothers him going into postseason play. Everything that we've been doing for the last couple of weeks, as frustrating as it's been, has been preparing for the postseason play. Coach Pearl is a guy who thinks long-term, not short-term, which is why you've seen him take the bottom feeder Auburn program in basketball to where it is now. Long-term focused coach. It's why he took a team to Tampa Bay to play a game against South Florida that really doesn't benefit them in RPI, the net rankings, all that stuff. But what it benefited them is going to the arena where they're going to be playing the SEC tournament. It makes sense down the line. So some of these coaching decisions, leaving players in, letting certain players shoot, those don't happen if the coach doesn't allow it to happen. There's a reason behind that. Is Coach Pearl perfect? No. I would just like to see us question less and trust more and see what happens. This team has showed you what they're capable of. Let's let them figure it out. Thanks for stopping in, Dusty. Good to see you tonight. So several times tonight. You are a trooper as always, being here as often as you are. Big Simp, I agree with you, though. I'd rather have them on the floor. It is what it is. Sonny that said that Flanagan's playing great defense. I haven't watched his defense enough because his offense has been so much a point of topic because we're used to him scoring, and he's not doing that. So that could be the case of why he's getting left in. Coach sees something. His teammate sees something. To continue to rely on him. So I'm going to trust them. We're not going to rest Jabari and Kessler as much in the tourney. I think that'll make a difference. Great point. Thinking long term. Yep. This is why you play those guys when you can now. But we've reached the point in the season. It's not that every game doesn't matter, but you're really trying to make decisions to set yourself up better for SEC on onward. And that's going to happen in the SEC tournament too, because you don't go home. Auburn doesn't go home if they lose in the SEC tournament in the first game. They go lower in their seeding in the bracket if that happens. They lose some of that, but there's much more at stake, and there's some forward thinking that we need to be taking as fans, I think. Play of the game. Kessler's block and OT followed by Katie's and one. Great point. We usually do that. So if you have a favorite play tonight, share that right here. I'm going to do one that's a little unconventional because I haven't seen anybody do this like in collegiate, legitimate play, not rec league, street ball stuff. Jalen Williams throwing they called it English on the TV, the spin ball pass all the way down the court. It gets to Wendell Green, finds the guy. I forget who it was, who he passed it to. Maybe it was Zepp Jasper for the foul or Kessler. Beautiful. Don't think Coach Pearl wanted him to do that, but that's what happens when you give the players freedom to be creative and trust themselves. It worked. Wasn't conventional, but it sure worked. Cardwell, I think, is what you meant. Yes, like what you saw from him tonight. Yep, he showed, especially early on, Cardwell continues to show that he is not a liability when he comes in the game and that he needs the minutes, especially if we need to get Jabari and Walker some time off the sit on the bench for a little bit to catch their breath in postseason play. He says, give me Berman over Flanagan. His confident shot. Berman was a good defender as well as and can shoot the ball. He could shoot the ball before his injury. We don't know that he can shoot it right now. I promise you, Big Simp. Might be a little too quick on the trigger with that. I don't know. We haven't been able to see Laura Behrman. All I know is Laura Behrman had his injury, got through it supposedly, and it isn't seeing as much time now. I'm going to trust Coach on that. I'm big on a heart in the tournament play, and between Jabari and Kessler, Katie, we have plenty of it. Yes, we do. Katie Johnson's got a big enough heart for everybody, almost too much of it at times. Again, he's that player you go, no, 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 yes, 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 at the same time. And tonight, especially in overtime, it was yes, yes, yes. Blake, good to see you as always, buddy. Happy for these guys. We need to rush the court if we win Saturday. I don't know that Auburn wants that $10,000 fine, but hey, I don't have to pay it, so fire away. Oh, Ben, we got another Pensacola boy. Dusty's also from Pensacola. Good to see you here. He says, Cardwell took a step forward and Katie resurrected. Zepp was hot. Man, he is open a lot. Why not ride him more? The hot hand comes and goes, so ride the wave. Well, that's just the thing is he's really not shown that propensity to be that hot except for tonight. And they rode the wave tonight as long as they could. Zepp with 11 points tonight, 3 for 4 from the 3-point arc. Free throws 2 for 2. One of his probably better nights overall, and not with a lot of great stats either by most people's standards. When you're talking about Jabari Smith, who's averaging, 16, 18 points, almost 20 points a game. Yeah. Caden, we're not doing video for tonight. That's normally reserved for our Wednesday night shows at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So you missed that one. That was your opportunity there. Our Booster Club members get to call in on some certain specific nights. And then every once in a while, I'll do a random stream where we'll let you guys call in, especially if it's something like big or something like that. But nothing tonight, just your comments and questions tonight. Caden, I do agree that Jabari is ridiculous, though. How anyone in their right mind questions he's not the number 1 overall pick. Now, let me rephrase that. How anyone in their right mind doesn't say he's not the best player in college basketball, that's a different statement than saying he's the number 1 overall pick. That is determined by who gets the number 1 pick and what they need on their team. Because you can have the best overall player, but if you've already got somebody at his position and you're filled up there and you don't really want to spend that pick on that, then he's not going to get drafted number 1. The respect will be given to Jabari. He's earned it. He said, pay the fine. Let Yellow Fella pay the fine. Well said. Well said. I'm sure he might do that. We won't be disparaging him that much when he's paying the fine, though. Who am I kidding? We still will. Really like seeing Jasper lighting it up now and not just the defender floor general. He can shoot. He definitely can. That is not his strong suit. His strongest suit is being the great defender that he is. A great stat line for him tonight. Your leading scorer, again, Jabari Smith with 27. 9 for 13, 3 for 5 from 3-point arcs, 6 of 7 from the free throw line. Only missed 1 in that, was it technical he was shooting? 10 rebounds, so a double-double for him tonight. Almost fouled out, 2 assists. Had a really great pass down to Dylan Cardwell. Continues to show that he is a very well-rounded player that deserves more recognition than just his shooting prowess, his one-on-one ability. He is so well-rounded in so many areas. It's hard to really pinpoint this is where he needs to improve on. They put a chart up on the TV tonight and said, here's why I rate him in these 3 categories. I was struggling, and they said I give him an A+ in the first two. The second one, I just felt bad for giving him a plus and everything else, so I had to give him just an A. That tells you how good the dude is tonight. Other than Jabari Smith, well, actually, you know what? I'll leave it open. Who's the player of the game tonight? Who's the player of the game? Most valuable player to the Tigers. I think there's actually a bit of a conversation to be had here, so I'd be interested to see what everybody says. Probably two likely candidates. But we'll see how you guys determine that one in the comments. Post that there right now. Let's look at some other stats while you guys are doing that. 46% from the field, 38 from three-point line. We already talked about the 71% from free throws. Points off of turnovers, 25. What else did we? Interesting stats. 23 bench points, and lots of those are from Wendell Green, but it was pretty equal spread. Cardwell, Cambridge got in the mix. Jalen Williams, everybody who played tonight scored. Let's see. We got some player of the games coming in now. KD, Bruce Pearl, MVP. Some people probably weren't saying that when he didn't call timeout to go into overtime. KD in overtime, KD. Interesting. I thought a lot more of you would be going with the Jabari Smith route. I personally, I hear the KD thing, and I agree in overtime, but we're not even in overtime if it's not for Jabari Smith. I think I'm going to have to go in the Jabari Smith route. There we go. There's a Jabari Smith. Cool, Luke. Thanks for stopping in, buddy. Appreciate you. Mike says with that stat line, it's pretty good. When you look at stats, that's the one you make. When you look at impact in the moment, it's probably KD. But we don't get to that KD moment without Jabari in regular time. So that's why I think that it's Jabari Smith. Barry, thanks for checking in. Yes, Harrison, I agree. Getting a road on the win with what we've had to deal with. What was it? Tennessee, Florida, Arkansas. We really needed one of those three. Not that I think if we get one of those three, we're still, even with taking another loss, getting a number one seed. Those would have been a really good wins to have on the road. It's tough to win on the road. Great point. Whoever recruited and persuaded Jabari to come to Auburn, the MVP. My understanding is that Jabari, too, helped recruit Walker Kessler to come to Auburn, so you might want to thank him double, the person who got Jabari, for Walker Kessler, too. Jabari strikes me as the type of kid that you don't get too often. Super talented, ridiculously talented than he should be right now, and yet is so evenly keeled and is so humble enough, but selfish enough. It's such a combination that you don't find in a while, that I think he truly enjoys being part of college, and I think he wanted to come here to get that experience. I don't know that coming to college was a hard sell. I'd be interested to know what his other options were truly, other than Auburn, who he was seriously considering. He shoots threes like they're free throws. It does look like that sometimes, doesn't it? Confidence going forward. Agreed. Right now, this game was probably the most important one to get a win in, not just because it was on the road and we needed that, and it's Mississippi State, who's a respectable team, but because the last game at home has got so much on it. The renaming of the arena, senior. Do we have a senior? I think we've got someone there. Your last home game, potentially securing the number one, or the number one seed maybe for yourself in the SEC tournament, but also potentially securing your full-on SEC regular season title. There's so much more to focus in that game on. They just need to go out there, enjoy it. To get this one under their belt was huge. Zepp is a senior. Blake, are you sure on that? Because I think he confirmed he's coming back. He does have that extra year to use. But let's see. We have 2 seniors, Zepp and Preston. I thought Preston was one, but I couldn't remember. And Zepp is apparently coming back. I've had that confirmed by some people who seem to know. I wouldn't consider the people that I shouldn't say that. I've just been told by several people that he has confirmed he's coming back, and I think he's done that in the media as well. Who do you all think is leaving this year? I hope Jabari and maybe Walker. I hope only Jabari. I was like, you hope Jabari's leaving? I hope he somehow has a stroke of insanity and decides to stay. I hope only Jabari and maybe Walker Kessler. I think Zepp may go since he's a senior. Like we were just saying, Zepp may stay. I think Kessler's probably going to go now. That might be it. I hope. Because that'll probably convince Jalen Williams to stay around, Cardwell to stay around. But we'll have to go find us a big man in the transfer portal, probably. I thought you asked for anyone other than Jabari. Sorry, yes, I started to say that, and because I didn't think there was going to be an argument outside of Jabari, and then I decided, well, no, people are going to probably root for KD. Thank you, Devin. She's doing her job here. We've got 1,100 tweets in 25 minutes in response to the post-game final score tweet from Mississippi State. I will be honest, I'm a little disappointed in our meme game as it's gone on throughout the season. I know it's not been as exciting with the losses that came, but we haven't. When's the last time we hit 2,000? We got to hit 2,000. Does he spend more time on the bench, meaning Allen Flanagan? We talked about this a little bit earlier. It's up to coach, right? Coach still sees the value in putting him out there. Coach Sonny Smith, the announcer, was saying he thinks his defensive prowess is what probably keeps him out there. Coach is going to go with whatever happens, or whatever the team is best, even if we like it or not. And we got to make peace with that. I could see us adding a transfer next year, likely, especially if we lose both big men. No offense to Cardwell and Jalen Williams, but I think you're still going to need someone in that rotation. Maybe we'll win it outright Saturday and up the meeting. I would hope so. I would hope that we go full out against South Carolina, even though we've already played them once. By the way, if anybody knows of a ticket, let me know. A reasonably priced ticket. I'm planning to come to Auburn this weekend, but for other things as well. I don't have a ticket to the game yet. 7'5" guy out of Western Kentucky. There's something about beyond 7'1" that doesn't seem to work out a lot. I don't know how I feel about that. You think that Kessler is returning next year? Well, Yahari, you can come back and say this, that if you prove to be right on that, you need to start your own YouTube channel and just start making call it Yahari's predictions. I will be so happy if that proves to be true, because that's a game changer in terms of next year if that were to be true. Born Free says, I think Allen Flanagan feels out of place because this was his team last year. Now he's just third or fourth best on the team. I wouldn't go so far as to say that compare who is best or whatever. It's Jabari and everybody else at this point. Walker Kessler maybe, but everybody's skill sets is so different. But I do 100% agree with you that he does feel out of place. And that's what happens when you have that type of injury and this type of talent all coalescing together in one season. It's hard to find your place again, where you were asked to do things out of the ordinary last season, where you're a point guard, and that's not your position. And then you come into this and you're trying to find, how do I fit in to Jabari Smith's world, to Walker Kessler's world, to Zepp Jasper? How do I fit into all that? No way leads the nation in blocks. Let's see here. Can one of you explain our dry spells? It's frustrating and happens every single game. I mean, there's no explanation for it other than you're on the road. You go sit down you've lost your momentum. I mean, there's no explanation for it. People just go cold. We've long been known this season that Auburn's strongest feat is in its defense, and you saw that early on in this game, and not its offense. And they're just going to hit a dry spell sometime. Best road record in the SEC. Is that official, James? Is that official? Because that would be a huge amount of encouragement for some of the Auburn fans tonight. Devin, want to put my brother's opinion, see what everybody thinks. He doesn't think Bruce is the coach for this particular team because he doesn't know how to coach with a star like Jabari on this team. Let me clarify. I don't think what her brother is saying is that he's not the coach for us. He's just saying the talent that's here. I'm going to disagree with that. Coach has been around long enough with talent. He had some incredible talent at Tennessee to know how to coach them. If Jabari Smith was struggling more and not being allowed to thrive the way he is, he might have a point, but I'm gonna probably vehemently disagree with him on that. Not disrespectfully, but just nah. He can't coach in the critical moments. I kind of addressed that earlier. I know you were a little late and said, I think we're allowing some of these situations to see what the team does in response, because we can't in postseason play when it's one and done. If you don't have a timeout, you got to see how they're going to react and work themselves out of those situations. This is the common comment we get a lot here. What would have happened if da-da-da-da-da-da, and all those names together? It would have never happened, weird year or not, but it would be cool to see. It would be very cool to see. There wouldn't be enough room on the court for that much talent. Dry spells happen when they literally don't have a 3-spot. Flannery and Cambridge are killing us. Well, Cambridge tonight actually helped us a lot. And Flanagan is still struggling offensively, but coach trusts them. And so I'm going to trust them. When you bring a program the way that was rock bottom the way he was, you get a lot of leeway. And he's shown that he can maintain it, even in an off year, bring it back up to the level that we expect of him. Kessler, that is about leaving. He leads the team in nation in blocks. Sorry, it's hard to follow that one, Mike. We play so hard on defense. Yes, the offense will suffer at times. They spend a lot of energy on defense. Heck, on the outbounds play defense, they kill themselves. Katie wanted that trophy. He was lights out in overtime. Amen. Katie, tonight, I think he realized that, hey, I've got to take this one over because we're losing this one fast. Molinar and Smith for Mississippi State just couldn't be stopped at times. And there are times that you just look at Katie Johnson, you just go, hey, man, why? And then you go, thank you. Thank you. And tonight was definitely one of those. Devin, you disagree with your brother. I think the coach will take us deep in the tournament. Guess we will find out. Playing the SEC tournament will give us a better idea of how we will play in the big dance. I agree, but it's still going to be a much different beast because we've played all these teams, right? So we've seen them. It's going to be a real different story when we come in contact with somebody we haven't seen all season. If Auburn does get that number 1 seed, it's very unlikely that they would lose to a 16 seed. It finally did happen. However, we're Auburn. So, but I would be very much worried about that 8 or 9 seed in the second round that would come to find them. Those are usually not bad teams. And I think a lot of people project us in the Seton Hall area, and that one worries me a lot. Papa said Flanagan didn't play in the overtime. That should tell you something. I think it absolutely tell you something, but I think what you're also looking at is you're trying to apply something that happens in one game over a microcosm of the entire season and stuff like that to say that this is Coach Pearl saying he's been the problem. Well, no, he wasn't contributing as well in this game, so you sit him. We've seen that happen with other players too. It happened with KD, and look what happens. Alan Flanagan is a guy that I think a lot of people are overly critical of, not understanding enough of, and just need to be thankful that he's still here, part of this team, because he could have gone somewhere else. I know his dad's here, but if you want to be the guy again, there's plenty of places to go. Very true. It does feel like that always happens. Let me put it to you, not beat writers, whoever makes the decision, coach of the player of the year, if y'all somehow don't vote Jabari Smith as player of the year in the SEC and put that fool Oscar Tshiebwe, he's great. Y'all are messed up. Y'all, it's over. If I no respect if y'all don't see that Jabari Smith is not the best player in the SEC. Yes, any loss of Bama and an Auburn win following it makes it a great night. You could also make that. Cambridge didn't play as well. In overtime, you try to make as few changes as possible. So again, I wouldn't read too much into who didn't or didn't play tonight in overtime, and you go with whoever's working with you the best that night. Katie had the hot hand. Zepp had the hot hand. Wendell at times was having a hot hand, and obviously Walker and Jabari. In overtime, you play them. All right. Get some final thoughts here. We'll wrap up here in just a little bit, but I want to hear any other questions, comments that you had about this particular game. We've run through stats, performances, best plays, players of the game, and things like that. I want to give you a couple of reminders here, though, that if you haven't, please do consider checking out some of the links. One of the things that you can do to help support our content here is by becoming a channel member. It's only $1 to do so. You get access to those little emojis to use during chats. You get icons next to your name. Every once in a while, I'll poll you guys or something to give you guys little insights, but mainly that's for the Booster Club members. But here's a way that you can help support our content by becoming a channel member for $1 a month. And thank you to so many of you that have already done that. Check out the other links in the description, too, for ways that you can help support our content. I'll give you a little preview of what to expect for the rest of the week. I do anticipate doing a best memes video for tomorrow. A few more podcasts coming out this week. Obviously, an Inside the Jungle with our basketball boys will be probably coming out on Friday. We'll have a track and field one tomorrow. And then we'll see what else we get into this week. Obviously, a post-game show on Saturday. Stay tuned on social media because I plan to be on campus doing some stuff from there. Let's get back to a few more of your comments and questions. Let's see here. Watch Flanagan break out in the tournament. It's frustrating to see him frustrated and not at his best. Remember, no one is happier or more upset than the players and probably more critical. Absolutely. It's very easy for us to sit here and say someone needs to ride the bench. The funny thing is, well, I won't go that far with it. I just wish sometimes we would think about these things before we type them, before we say them. You know, say it to yourself. It doesn't need to be out there for all posterity. Bruce brings the SEC championship to Auburn in 2018 after Tony Barbee's 49 and 75. Oh, you're just hurting my heart. Don't even bring that man's name up again. Flanagan was projected to go pro this year before his injury. He is just out of rhythm and will make a huge splash next year and will find his groove in the NCAA tournament. We talked about this on previous live streams. There's always that guy that steps it up and becomes the unsung guy in the tournament. It was Danjel Purifoy during the Final Four run. A lot of people were critical of him, and then he just turned it on. Who will it be in this tournament? It seems like Flanagan's the best candidate, but you could see a Devin Cambridge turn it on and start knocking down those shots. Everybody's so critical of him. You could see Cardwell continue his rise that he's doing. You could see Jalen Williams just doing Jalen Williams things. It's right for one of those guys that get fewer minutes to make a name for themselves in the tournament. Who will it be? See, Devin, that's the important thing here, is to take those emotions and go, do I actually need to say this thing or type this thing out? And there's a lot of people that see me say that right now. They're in the chat. They're probably upset with me saying that, but it's the truth. We just need to take a beat, breathe, enjoy what we've got going on right now. Let coach be the coach and figure the thing out. The main important thing is we got the win 81-68, knocked the road woes that we had been having in SEC play. And we are officially regular season SEC champs, although it is shared for the moment. So those are your positives to take away. I hope you guys enjoyed our late night stream tonight, talking through a few things, and I hope to see you guys on a stream or on a video here very soon. Thank you guys so much for your continued support too, and just letting me go take that week off and still be coming back to hang out with me here on this channel and everybody else. You guys are the best little family within the Auburn family. Go get some sleep, rest up. Got one more game in what's been a long but very, very fun season. Until then, War Eagle.